the Irrational Confidence Podcast.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of the Irrational Confidence Podcast. We're talking college football, and it is Rivalry Week. It is episode number 3. These are the late games on Rivalry Week. These are the games that we cannot wait for. This has been the culmination of an amazing college football season. It is a repeat of 2007. The 2024 season will go down and live in infamy. And I'm joined by my co-host, the man who once wrote a song about a tortilla, turned it into a rap, though. My co-host, Fresh. Fresh, how you doing, buddy?
It's a damn good rap. Haps, I am ecstatic. We are diving into some real meaty matchups here. These last 5 for the big weekend out. A lot's on the line in every single one of these games for playoff hopes, for rivalry, for bragging rights. It's a big deal. Like we've been talking about, how are we already in week 14? It just feels like it was, early August, and we were prepping for Florida State, Georgia Tech in Ireland. And here we are talking about playoff spots and conference championship game bids. And the weather's definitely turned. It's definitely colder here in Florida than what it has been. It's colder across the nation. It means, it's time to button up and play football and get after it. Talk with your pads time. Talk with your pads time.
Nah, it's always a fun time of the year. At least there's no snow right now, although I do like snow around the holidays.
If it snows in Florida, we got bigger problems, boys and girls.
Yeah, it hasn't happened since I believe, late 80s last time snow
89.
stuck. But, all right, Fresh, let's go to a place that will have some snow. The Miami Hurricanes, they are wrapping up their year in the ACC. They are 10-1 on the season, 6-1 in the ACC. They're heading up to the Dome up in Syracuse, New York. It'll be cold up there, but it'll be a balmy, probably 72 degrees inside that Dome stadium. There's snow on the outside of the stadium, but not on inside. Syracuse 8-3 on the year, 4-3 in the conference. Interesting thought right now, because in this game, the spread opened up at 12. Miami being a 12-point favorite is down to a 10.5-point spread. Over under, they're expecting a lot of points in this football game. 67.5 points for the over under right now. That is a lot of points for a game. Fresh, we've had a lot of talks on Miami, and we've talked about their schedule a little bit. They haven't really, faced a murderous row in the ACC. The ACC has been kind of down, and they've avoided some of the other power players right there as well. Syracuse is a quality opponent, 8-3 on the year. Kyle McCord over there has played very, very well. Actually, statistically, might be a better quarterback with the almost 4,000 yards, although Cam Ward has him on interceptions 7-12, and then touchdowns 34-26. Fresh, Miami, are they in? Are they in for sure, or could they suffer a loss and be out?
If they lose to Syracuse, they have to win the ACC title, I think, because that right there is going to, even though Syracuse is 8-3 and I have them in my top 25, the quality of the ACC this year is going to, it's below the Big 12. And they've had so many close losses, close games, I should say. The Virginia Tech game should have been a loss. I mean, everyone was watching that last play. That was a touchdown. Virginia Tech got screwed, and it's going to hang over them controversy-wise. Going out to Cal, even though it was late at night for everyone on the East Coast, there were some judgment calls made by the ACC office of the referees in favor of the Hurricanes that helped spur that comeback. And if the committee is paying attention to that and kind of looking at it, they're not just like, yes, they won the game. And in the end, we talk about wins and losses. Wins matter. But how many times were you given gifts or convenient situations? That kind of lingers. That should linger in the back of the mind. You get completely owned by Georgia Tech, and you actually played average versus a terrible Florida State football team until the fourth quarter when you pulled away and covered the spread barely. Like, that was not a go ahead and hide. They were in that thing until 3 minutes to go when they finally scored a couple touchdowns to really make it look better on paper than what it was. This Hurricane football team, even versus Wake Forest, it was 20-16 with like 3.5 minutes to go in the third quarter. And Wake, 4-6 going into the ball game, and they were giving them all they could handle. Miami's done a great job of pulling away late in the fourth quarter when people are worn out, but they are not taking field from start to finish from a game control perspective and dominating. And we all kind of knew it was eventually going to catch up with them. It caught up with them on out there in Atlanta. Will it happen again? You're going to Syracuse. Fran Brown, the defensive, minded head coach, was under Kirby Smart for a few years there at Georgia. He's coached all across the country. He knows what he's doing, but the offense is really the story for Syracuse. And Miami's defense has been a problem. They have not shown up consistently. They have not been the force that they really should be from a playoff contending perspective. So, long story short, it worries me if the Hurricanes lose this ball game that they only have one path and one path only, and that is to beat SMU and go and via the conference champion route to the playoff. If they win this ball game, then I think that they're in because the two teams are pretty solid. We've seen a lot of chaos. But if they lose to Syracuse, that resume is going to you have to look at the full body of work. 2 losses in the ACC, 2 conference losses, potentially, if you lose to SMU, that's 3. Like that's going to be a real dicey situation to match up. You have to take the awe factor of Cam Ward out of it. And same with Colorado. You can't just put Colorado in the playoff field because Travis Hunter is an amazing player from a Heisman perspective. You have to take the whole full body of work. So it's going to be interesting. Looking at this game, does Syracuse have a chance to pull it off? Yes, because that offense is ridiculous. You mentioned Kyle McCord. He's probably going to break 4,000 yards passing in this ballgame. He has 54 yards away. So it's probably going to happen. You never know, but it's most likely going to happen. Receivers, Jackson Meeks, transferred from Georgia, 65 receptions, 801 yards, 5 touchdowns. Oronde Gadsden the second. That's Oronde Gadsden who played for the Dolphins, ironically playing Miami in this game. It's funny how that kind of works, the symmetry. Tight end / receiver, big body guy, 65 receptions, 810 yards, 5 touchdowns. Receiver, Traver Pena, 73 receptions, 743 yards, and 6 touchdowns. And kind of the straw that stirs the drink, running back LaQuint Allen, 189 carries, 819 yards, 12 rushing touchdowns, 55 receptions, 423 yards, and 3 touchdowns. That's a lot of weapons that Miami's going to have to stop. Their defensive line, they're going to have to find ways to get pressure with 4, maybe 5 only, because they're going to have to cover these 3 receivers and the running back out of the backfield among the rest of the players. McCord is a veteran quarterback. He has played in the Big Ten. He played at Ohio State. He understands pressure. Playing this game is nothing like last year having to play Michigan up in Michigan. And he was actually pretty competitive up there and making good throws. He's been in the big situations. He knows how to get done. Here, take a deep breath. Use your assets. Contribute out there. You might not have the offensive line at that elite level where, maybe Ohio State was or what, other programs might have. But if you can get just enough time and spread out this Hurricane defense, you're going to find ways to pick and prod. And I will be honestly, if you're Syracuse, if you can get a lead, you don't have to go full on pedal to the metal in boat racing. Slow it down. Keep Cam Ward and Damian Martinez, Jacoby George and Xavier Restrepo on the sideline because those guys are just as explosive. Your best offense and best way to win is to control the clock and score, but control the clock. Touchdowns over field goals, obviously. But if you have it, maybe escalate a little bit and then slow it down. Now, to bring this back to college football 2025, what I love to do is I'm going to run my plays. I'm going to keep a good pace and a good, method of play clock, get snaps off until I hit the 50-yard line. And from 50 on in to scoring range, I am then going to slow it down and really milk the clock because I already know I'm in a more of a positive situation. I'm in control. And if I lose the ball, at least I push the ball down the field and kill some time. At least, have some momentum where it's going to be flipping the field. If Syracuse can take that approach of maybe keep a little fast pace and then slow it down once you cross the 50 and then punch it in the end zone, you're going to keep Miami on their heels. You're going to keep them guessing what you're going to do. You're going to kill some clock and score some points. You have to keep that approach. You've got to be ruthless. You have nothing to lose in this ballgame. Nobody really truly expected Syracuse to be 8-3 with the potential for 9-3 coming into this game. 8-4 going to a bowl game is a very successful first year for Fran Brown and that entire staff. If you go into this ballgame and get 9-3 and you beat Miami, it's going to take recruiting to a whole new level. It's going to put you in a big spot going into next year. You have nothing to lose. You've already hit a lot of your goals, but the biggest one right now in the last game of the year, go out and take the Hurricanes, ruin their season for the most point. Because honestly, now that I think about it, I've been talking too much. If Miami loses, Clemson's going to ACC title game. So you can
Yep.
literally ruin their season right here. And you have the offensive weapons to do it. If you just play a little bit defense, in the end, you just, embrace the moment, embrace the chaos, because that's what it's all about. On the other side, Cam Moore's been fantastic. Restrepo, the leading receiver in Miami football history. You kind of think Miami offense, there's been some receivers there. Restrepo, reception-wise, yard-wise, he's up there with all of them. Amazing little, slot receiver. Guy gets it done. He's definitely going to have an NFL career. And he's someone on third down, big-time critical downs. You've got to have eyes on him because he's going to make the play. Jacoby George, 45 receptions, 607 yards, and 7 touchdowns. He's going to be the hot or cold guy from the perimeter, but he definitely has the body and the speed to make big plays. Isaiah Horton's kind of the underlying third receiver that nobody really gives too much attention to. He still has 54 receptions, 603 yards, and 5 touchdowns. The three of them are big-time weapons with Cam Ward. The one that kind of has bothered me all year is where's Damien Martinez been?
Mm-hmm.
Big-time running back at Oregon State. Coming in, is this offense not really fit for him? He's more of a bulk power back as opposed to a spread offense they're kind of running. Is it not the same kind of vibe? He has 135 carries, 739 yards, 8 touchdowns. When are they going to start using him in force? And maybe they need to use him a little bit more to help slow the pace, help take some more time off the clock, because their defense is a deficiency right now. Yes, they have some pass rushers, but the secondary, the linebackers, there are question marks. I think this is going to be like you said, it's going to be a high scoring game. That's a lot of points though. The over potentially, I think has a good chance of hitting. It's probably a team that has the ball last wins the football game. I want to say Syracuse. I really do. I'll take Syracuse in the points, but I'll take Miami outright to win. This is going to be a lot closer. I think it's Miami by a touchdown. But Syracuse is going to give them a battle and really set up for the future and make a nice run and make noise in the ACC going forward.
Fresh, not embracing the chaos here, man. Gotta embrace the chaos if you feel it. The interesting thing for me and for this game is going to be who wins the time of possession game here. Syracuse, just like you were talking about, is a ball control type offense. 34 minutes of total possession on average in a game this year. Miami likes to do the same thing. They got 32 minutes as well. Syracuse's Achilles heel all year long, though, has been the turnover differential. When they turn the football over, they really do struggle to keep up with the other offenses as well. They have a minus turnover differential on the season, where Miami right now is +5 in this. It's weird to say this here, Fresh, because when I was looking at these teams, statistically, Miami is the best defense for yardage in the ACC. They're the third-ranked defense in the ACC. Now, again, ACC is down a little bit this year, and they haven't played really any of the heavy hitters. They've missed both SMU and Clemson already this season. But it is showing that there is some defense over there. And you're right, they do have the pass rush there as well. It's going to come down. Can the Orange protect Kyle McCord? And can Kyle McCord make good decisions throughout this football game, not turn the football over? Football becomes a very simple game when you do those two things. When it's again, almost a game of chess where you're protecting your king and being able to attack them as well and not turning over different ideal pieces at different times throughout the game. That's what it's going to come down to with Syracuse. I'm with you. I like Miami outright in this. I like Miami by a little more than a touch. I'll go a little higher than you. I actually like them right around the 8.5 mark. Not like the 7 mark, but I like them right around 8.5. I do think that there's going to be some points because Miami definitely is a slow starting team. Doesn't mind giving up points, especially in the first half. But I legitimately think Miami could hang 40 on these guys, maybe even 50, depending on whether or not the Syracuse defense shows up. But, again, great year out of Syracuse. Again, a lot of stuff for them to hang their hats on, and they can move forward in the ACC as one of the teams to be competitive next year. Got to see what they'll do at the quarterback position. They do have some pieces that they're going to need to replace, but they have my attention.
Yeah, and it's kind of thing where it's the one thing with the transfer portal. If you go out and get a guy for 1 year, like McCord, I think, boom, he does his job. He got them where you do. He's done what he had to do and showed the NFL scouts that he can make some big boy throws.
Right.
Cam Ward, 1 year. Where's that next quarterback for the year after? Eventually, you can't keep recycling a 1 year 2 rental on a quarterback every single time. Like Florida State struggled with
Right.
that. is Oregon able, and they went and got Dante Moore, so I think they're set, but eventually you have to find somebody to be sustainable for the future. And that's really going to be telling for these two programs going forward.
Well, let's go, Fresh. Let's go to our next rivalry game. This is a fun one. Let's go out to the beautiful, balmy Tucson, Arizona. It's going to be 71 degrees at the game here. This is a great rivalry game. This game is going to be played at 3:30. Arizona State, they are a 9.5-point favorite on the road to the Arizona Wildcats. Arizona had a great year last year under Jedd Fisch and have kind of not been able to find that same magic. You know, Fafita will be back next year, but the human Tetris game, McMillan over there, he's gone. He's off to NFL right now. And again, this is the weirdest thing to me, Fresh. And maybe just talk to me a little bit about this. Why is McMillan not being put up on the pedestal of being one of the all-time great receivers in college football right now? Because this dude is an absolute freak show. Like, he is going to be a monster in the NFL. Why don't you? Is it just because they're not winning?
Well, I think it's a few things. Number one, it's not winning, so they're not on TV because they were getting attention last year. Number two, You have Travis Hunter in the Big 12 as well, getting a lot of attention. You have Ryan Williams getting attention, Jeremiah Smith getting attention, Coleman at Auburn making some plays lately. The flash, even Emeka Ibuka at Ohio State. You have the flash and the profile of the programs has stealing away from Louisville, Arizona. If they were in the Big 12 race like we kind of thought they might have been, they would definitely be getting the attention. But you have Tez Johnson and Stewart out there at Oregon, who people at least know the names they remember because the programs are winning. I think he's getting punished. And by that, I mean, Fafita and McMillan, there was obviously in the offseason, there was a detailed accounts of people trying to poach them and have them come through the portal using NIL. Washington being one of them. And they stuck. And they stayed at Arizona and made a commitment to the Wildcats and the fan base there instead of following Jedd Fisch up to Seattle. Jonah Coleman went, and not having that running back, I think, has also hurt this offense. Having Jordan Morgan get drafted, losing one of the offense. They had a solid tackle come back, but losing Morgan also hurt. Defensively, Takaro Davis has been there. He's been pretty solid, but they lost a couple of guys off that defense from last year's run. And a lot of guys transferred from Arizona to Washington, followed Coach Fisch in addition to Williams. The vibe is a little bit reset of a program, and I think they got lost in the shuffle. He is definitely a machine at the receiver position. He'll catch everything in a cold. But I think the profile you kind of get overshadowed because they don't have eyes on it. It's out in Arizona. It's later in the night for the most part, or later in the afternoon for a lot of games, so they might be overshadowed by other larger, more Eastern Central Time, venues, and you're just out of sight, out of mind, which is unfortunate, but that's probably a price you pay if your team struggles out in that part of the country.
So let me throw this at you there, because McMillan in the last four games, 31 catches, 460 yards, 3 touchdowns. He only does have 7 touchdowns on the year, and 4 of those came in week 1 for them against New Mexico. If you're NFL GM and you're drafting a guy only on the offensive side of the football and you're staring at McMillan or Hunter, who are you taking? Take out of the equation the Hunter defensive side of the game.
That's going to be really, really difficult. Because if I have a top 3 pick, I'm probably taking Hunter because it's 2 positions in 1. And I can't judge him as just a wide receiver or just a cornerback. You're getting 2. I think the propensity for potential injury playing both ways and being worn down in the NFL has me as a risk factor for Hunter, but that ability is too good. McMillan is my number 2. I don't know. I ranked McMillan preseason number 1 as my number 1 receiver and Hunter number 2.
It's a tough one.
It's a very tough call because
it depends on how the draft order falls too, I think.
Draft need, positioning. You can never have enough defensive backs in the league. And even if he came in as a perimeter corner, you bump the guy into the slot for a couple, for packages, Hunter still gives you that spot where it's a roster saver somewhere else. But McMillan's a phenomenal talent. You really can't go wrong with either of them. They're both pretty solid players who are going to make some GMs very smart when it comes to draft day in April or late May or early May, late April.
Yeah, this game's going to be interesting too because Arizona cannot go bowling. They're 4-7 on the year. This is their bowl game. This is everything that they got to play for. But I think that there's too much talent on the Arizona State side of the football for this one. If you're looking at Arizona State making the playoff, let's act like Arizona State's going to be our Big 12 representative here. Who do you see them as being a matchup problem for anybody, or are they going to be just like a sacrificial lamb for the first round, whoever they're playing?
Sam Leavitt, Tyson at receiver, Scatabo, the three of them have been they're solid weapons. And I've got a feeling they're going to play with a little reckless abandon because they don't care. Nobody expects them to win.
Right.
Even if they're in the Big 12 title game versus Iowa State or in the Big 12 title game versus Colorado, especially versus Colorado, they know the world's going to root against them. They're the cute story that, the happy, rags to riches mentality of what Arizona State football has a couple of years ago to where they are now. Against Colorado, nobody's going to care because they're all going to want Travis Hunter, Shador, Prime in the playoff. 100% done. Iowa State kind of gives them more of an even keel because both those are underrated programs. I think Arizona State is a very good football team, playing with a lot of momentum. I'm kind of worried about how they react to that BYU game because that game they had under control. It was 21-0. BYU came back. Then the storming of the field, the chaos. Did they run the clock out? Did they not? Have to go through the Hail Mary there that had knocked down? The tackle that got the 2-yard line. That's a lot to come off of and then get set for your in-state rival who beat you the past year.
Right.
Who has nothing to lose because their season, like you mentioned, they're 4-7. They beat you. They probably keep you out of the Big 12 title game and ruin your season.
Right.
And you kind of look at perspective where I think somebody put it up. Alabama 8-3, Illinois 8-3. And one's dark and gloomy and one's happy and sunny. And here in this situation, you come into this game, Arizona State. It's a great year from where you were last year.
God, yeah.
But it can immediately change and be destroyed in one afternoon. You could be 8-4, which compared to last year is amazing. But what 8-4 or 9-3 could have been in the Big 12 title game bid now is that it's kind of a letdown and a disappointment. It's weird how you went from I'd be happy with 6 wins to we could have 9 wins and go to the playoff game, and if we lose 8-4,
they're 9-2.
So 9-2, you go 10-2, but you still get my gist. What I'm going for,
right? No, it's huge.
The perspective of the season is now as great as it was coming in. It actually kind of feels empty if you lose this ball game. So you've got to somehow recover from that ball game, get focused for your in-state rival, and just take care of business because you have the tools, you have the energy to keep moving forward and really make a noise and get a bid. But you have to just from here on out, it's all win and go home. There's no,
right.
You have to have a win and go home mentality. There's no tomorrow. Just take your business and show maturity that you can handle the 24-hour rule, tank it, move forward, prepare, and get going. And right. I think if Dillingham being a young coach, being 34 years old, that actually might kind of work in their favor because he's going to be naive and screw it, I don't know any better. Let's just buckle up and go get after it. And maybe the players have the same mentality. They don't understand the moment and the gravity of it, that it might actually play in their favor of just shrugging it off and playing football again. But they're a good football team, and I think they'd be a viable option in the playoff if they got in.
It's intriguing, man. I don't understand how Arizona State can't recruit even better than what they do. They have a nice reputation of the school for the fun part of college, as well as it's a nice area to be in. It is warm there, it's a big city.
Herm Edwards could have won there if it wasn't for COVID and them doing a lot of off the field stuff that obviously caused a lot of issues.
Right.
If you're going to cheat, You got to be cheating like Michigan. You got to win. If you cheat and lose, you're going to get fired.
Right.
And, they had Jaden Daniels there. They had Ricky Pearsall. Pearsall's in the NFL, was a big player at Florida. Daniels, obviously, a Heisman Trophy winner. They find ways to get players there. You just have to, get them all at the same time and buy in collectively.
You like Arizona State at that 9 number?
I think they'll pull away late. They're going to run Scatterball hard. That dude is going to.
Mm-hmm.
He's a like someone. I think the announcers even called him Pat McAfee called Mike Allstott, and I was like, you know what? He looks like Mike Allstott. Like he is just a battered ram who's going to run the ball.
I just get the sense this game's going to be close. I mean, my head is telling me to go exactly the same as you're saying there. I think Arizona State is just so much more talented, but I get like Kansas vibes from this Arizona team. Like we know that there's talent. They are not
brewing.
Right, but and that's the people are going to look at Arizona and go, oh, 4-7, they're really not that good. And yeah, are they a inverse of the record 7-4? No, but is there talent on that football team? Yes, there is. Is there enough talent where they could upset a team that maybe might not be 100% focused or might be looking ahead to the conference title game? Yeah, there's definitely that level of talent. So my head is telling me 9 points easy. My heart is telling me, though, like field goal type of game. I still think Arizona State wins, but I'd be almost – yeah.
Every weekend, chaos will happen. There should be some games that will be like, what the heck just happened? And
right.
I mean, it's the beauty about college. Like college basketball, you can launch the ball from anywhere in the court and you have a chance to put the ball in.
Right.
In football, it's 20 dudes on the field plus the refs. Things can happen that defy odds. And that's what makes hated rivals even more with a lot on the line or nothing to lose.
Right. All right, Fresh, let's go all the way up to Eugene, Oregon. The Ducks are going to be hosting the Washington Huskies. This has been like one of the marquee games out in the defunct Pac-12. And right now, Oregon is a 19.5-point favorite. Washington has had Oregon's number for the last couple of years. I think Dan Lanning is going to exercise the demons Ryan Day style. I think him and Ryan Day are going to do the same thing this weekend. It is going to be a level of vengeance, of anger and hostility, and sweep the leg there, Johnny, is going to be there. He goes, yeah, there's no Mr. Miyagi doing some magic in the locker room afterwards after taking some of these kids out. But, you take a look at Washington, 6-5 on the year, 4-4 in the conference. We expected Washington to kind of take a slip. And then Will Rogers comes over there, doesn't have the same, I think, rest in peace, Mike Leach. I think he was the whisperer for Will Rogers.
Mm-hmm.
He's still playing good football, and Washington's got a lot of talent over there. I'm going to say, again, I'm probably going to guess with you, Oregon rolls in this game, but where do you see, how does this game get close? This is a rivalry, though, so.
I mean, Oregon's had their season ruined by Washington the last 3 times they met. 2 years ago, they got beat up in Eugene. Last year, they got beat in the regular season, and they got beat in the actual title game. Dan Lanning and that Oregon team, there's no excuses because right now you win this, you go to the Big Ten title, you go take on Indiana or Ohio State, however it all plays out, or Penn State, depending on math. Who knows what that's going to be. But you can't look ahead to that. You have to go ahead and take your business. If this was anybody else, if this was Purdue, that wouldn't be competitive. Actually, if it was Nebraska or Minnesota, they might be like, no one's a little bit, maybe their guard down a little bit because they're like, hey, we're going to Indianapolis, we're going to the playoff. But this being Washington and then ruining their season the past few years, obviously different coaching staff, a lot of the players are different, but it's the logo and the fan base and getting over that proverbial hump. So they're going to take it out. The one question that really I go into this is, can the Huskies even outscore Oregon?
Right.
They're scoring 22.6 points a game, which is 14th in the Big Ten. There are 18 teams, by the way. That's only better than Michigan State, UCLA, Purdue, and Northwestern. Nationally, the Huskies are tied for 108th out of 134 FBS football teams in points per game. And they're in the bottom 30 in scoring. And there are 6 other Big Ten teams in that bottom, which is, 5 other teams, including them, makes 6 total in the bottom 30. So scoring the Big Ten is already not that great, but it's not going to be continuing to be hanging down there with them. Points that they have scored versus Big Ten defenses, which is Big Ten defenses, they play a solid style and they get after the quarterback and they contain and shut down and make offenses flustered. 24 versus Northwestern, 18 versus Rutgers, 27 versus Michigan, 16 versus Iowa, 17 versus Indiana, 26 versus USC, 6 Penn State, and then 31 versus UCLA. You're not scoring much against your Big Ten opponents. You've got to find ways to put points on the board. The defense, that's been carrying them, and I put carrying in quotations. They're allowing 20.5 points a game, which is 8th in the Big Ten, but the stats kind of lie because in all 5 losses, they've allowed 24, 21, 40, 31, and 35. They've had 3 other games where they allowed single digits, but in the games they get beat and they give up tons of points. If you get on them, and they can be had, you're going to be able to get and layer on and score and score and score. So where does Washington find a way to find a medium where if they can get into a shootout, can they keep up? Can Will Rogers be the old gunslinger, be the cowboy that he was in Mississippi State and throw the ball around? Can Jonah Coleman show up? Will Rogers only has 14 touchdowns, 7 picks, and sacked 18 times, but he's completing the ball 70.7% of the time, which maybe that's the way to sustain drives is just keep short passes and keep containing the football and running the clock. Denzel Boston's had a pretty solid year, 57 catches, 764, and 9 touchdowns. Those 3 guys have got to show up at a high level along with that offensive line to give the Huskies a chance. They've got to score touchdowns against the Ducks because Dylan Gabriel, I haven't kept track of where he is in the record for passing yards, but he might want to keep chucking the ball. You've got receivers out there. Jordan James running the ball over the yard. This Oregon team is going to want to put the foot down and get themselves humming offensively and defensively before they go to Indianapolis for the Big Ten title. Because if they're playing in Ohio State, they know they're going to have to score more and be different and be better than where they were earlier in September versus the Buckeyes. If they go versus Indiana, they know they're going to have to be able to score. If they go versus Penn State, they know they're going to have to score. So they've got to make sure that they are humming at the right level. And I expect them to use this game as a way, number one, take out a lot of pain. And number 2, really push different formation looks, different opportunities, and push the offense to get them on the same page and work at any of the kinks. Because we mentioned earlier, it's win or go home season now. There's no, we got next week. We can fine tune and get better. You've got to be humming and be on your game going forward. And if that means scoring extra touchdowns to make sure that your formations, your alignment, the way you're seeing the defenses or what you want to show on tape to future teams is out there, you're going to do it. I expect Washington to come out with a fire in a rivalry game early. And then as this game goes on, Dan Lanning and the boys are going to pour it on. It won't be like the Colorado visit to Eugene last year, but it will be, the scoreboard will look ugly, but the first half will be a little bit more of a competitive affair until late.
Yeah, Dylan Gabriel is ranked 2nd right now, just under 18,000 yards for his career. He is about, give or take, just under 1,300 yards away. It's in reach. The Case Keenum record is in reach. He's going to need the Big Ten title game
playoff run,
and then probably two playoff games at least. So you take a look at him there. I think the interesting thing for me for Washington is they've been starting and again, I might flip-flop this, but I believe they've been starting a redshirt freshman over at left tackle and a sophomore over at right tackle. How do those 2 guys and Will Rogers handle this Oregon pass rush? Because, again, Dylan Gabriel, the offensive players, they're going to get all of the glitz, glamour, and glory for what Dan Lane's done there out at Oregon. You take a look at what the defensive linemen have done. It's been an impressive run by them, being able to get after the quarterback. So, I'm really looking to see how Oregon generates pressure because at times, Oregon has struggled in that affair. Like there's been certain teams that have been able to stop their pass rush. Now, there's been also a lot of other times before we have a bunch of Oregon fans jump in the comments and say, what are you talking about? yes, there are times where that pass rush looks unrelenting and unstoppable. Like DJU's younger brother is just Ungale has been just absolutely phenomenal. Mateo is the name I'm looking for. But Mateo has been absolutely unrelenting as well. You take a look at some of the other guys they got in that front line there. It's a really good defensive front. Is Washington, especially the guys on the outside, like they have some experience on the inside, but are the tackles able to handle the outside pass rush in this football game? I'm going to say Oregon's going to run away with this game, and I think Dan Lane's going to exercise some demons here. Oregon big in this game. Dylan Gabriel takes another step forward to that passing record.
Quack, quack, quack.
Mr. Ducksworth. All right, Fresh, let's go to –
I was waiting for that. Good job.
Let's go to the other, I guess we could call this the marquee rivalry, what I would consider the second greatest rivalry in all of sports, in all of college football, although I might put it third. It's the Iron Bowl, ladies and gentlemen. It's the Auburn Tigers. They're going to Tuscaloosa, Alabama to face the Crimson Tide. The Crimson Tide coming off that big loss to Oklahoma. Auburn 5-6 on the year, 2-5 in the conference. They picked up their second win in the conference last week. Alabama 8-3 on the year, 4-3 in conference here though. Alabama 11.5 point favorite in this game. 52.5 points is the over under. Fresh, what do we want to say about Alabama? What do we want to say about them?
There is, at the core of the program, there's something wrong.
You feel so?
I think they put everything in to beating Georgia. They came out in that first half, the fury of hell, and they put it on. They put it on the Dogs. And they went into the locker room being told how amazing they are and how great they are. And this is, Jalen Milroe's going back to they're going to take over the playoff. They're going to win the SEC. And I'm not speaking tongue in cheek. I'm being legit serious. Like there was a vibe when they're coming off the field where the Dogs were kind of like, oh crap. And Alabama thought that they had just won the national championship. Right. Second half comes out. Georgia slowly, methodically storms back, makes it a ball game. Before everyone knows it, Georgia's actually leading the ball game. If it's not for Ryan Williams making an out of this world play and defensive backs sort of losing their balance and losing their focus and not knowing where they are, and him scoring, and even then getting an interception on the end zone on the subsequent drive, Alabama escapes that ball game. And if Alabama loses it, I think the same thing that happened after surfaces because they would have all been deflated that they had lost that ball game. I don't think they would have lost to Vanderbilt because they probably would have been more on guard. But going into the Vandy game, they have told how amazing they were. They just beat Georgia. Everything was fantastic. And they got punched in the mouth at Nashville. Then they got beaten up in a fight up in Knoxville. They should have lost to South Carolina. They went to LSU and they kind of put their magic cape back on for one night because it was being talked up at LSU was in the playoff hunt. LSU's at home. They had some vibes and they go in there and Jalen Milroe by himself just stomps the Tigers. And I think it became a one-man team. And this is where, is he actually a leader or is he kind of like a one? Because versus Georgia and LSU, Jalen Milroe is the best quarterback in the whole entire world. Versus everybody else, he's been pretty dang mid. And he was absolutely putrid versus Oklahoma. Throwing bad passes, receivers not on the same page, offensive line not there, and the Alabama defense looking exposed. It's been a plethora of issues across the board. But the leadership, the core of who's going to actually look everybody else in the eye of Alabama teams in the past is not there. There's no fear of Kalen DeBoer or Womack in that defensive staff. They had fear of Nick Saban walking around and holding them accountable and being he's an adult, but I think he's actually the grandfather in the room because he's obviously so old. But he's so wise where he knew, I'm going to say, this is what we're doing. You're all going to listen up and figure it out. And now when he kind of leaves, it kind of felt like they took over like, all right, we are in charge now. Kalen DeBoer, you're an outsider. We're going to run your offense, but we're in control of this. And they haven't had an adult to actually put them down and say, we are in charge. Do it this way. Do everything by discipline, the way the Alabama standard had been set. And the chickens came home to roost. You're seeing a very dysfunctional team. guys not on the same page. It's a weird vibe. I'm not mad that it's happening because I kind of take some joy seeing it. I think a lot of people take joy in seeing Alabama struggle, but there is something at the core of that locker room and that entire program that Nick Saban's departure is now the effects are being felt. There's no one to really bring structure to it. And I have to applaud Nick Saban for, even though he has an office there on campus, he's around it during the midweek, for not actually going in and trying to meddle, because that actually would make things worse. If he walked in there and sort of superseded DeBoer or sidestepped him, it's like, hey, I'm the Godfather coming back. I'm Corleone coming back here and taking over business. He stayed away and let them try to fix their own problem. Is there talent on that Alabama football team? Oh God, yes. Is there dysfunction and disorganization and not a leadership core taking charge? Yes, both things can be true. They've been playing with fire all year and they got burned. And maybe it's a humbling experience. Maybe they had to have that beat down in Oklahoma. But we're going to know playing Auburn in T-Town if they have truly reset themselves or if they let the nonsense continue to, develop. Because Auburn, they were a left for dead. They showed up and beat A&M. And they actually should have blown them out. They kind of looked them back in the ballgame. And now you have Coleman, DeMarcus Riddick, and other players in the media today running their mouths saying, we ain't scared of Alabama. They're not worried of the rivalry. Riddick literally said, I've never lost to a rival, which I think he needs to know that Georgia and Auburn are a rival and Georgia beat Auburn, but I digress. They have confidence right now after beating A&M to go into Tuscaloosa and pull off the upset, whether it's false bravado or not. There is a vibe right now for Auburn that is a little, careless, a little edgy that Alabama doesn't have. Do I think Alabama has a way to just grind this thing out and win the football game? Yes. Do I think DeBoer is a better overall game manager coach than Hugh Freeze? Yes. But you still have to play the ball game, and rivalries matter. This is going to be a chaotic affair because if we've even seen last year with a very terrible Auburn team giving Alabama all they can handle, and Alabama only wins on the last play. Will Auburn be able to play with, reckless abandon and do what they did last week versus A&M, not being scared of the moment, just let it loose? If they do and they play, fancy free, they have the receivers and they have Jacquez Hunter at running back to really test that Alabama defense. Lawson will not be on the field. Unfortunately, he tore his ACL and is out for the rest of the year. Who's in that secondary is going to step up? Who in that defensive front is going to step up and make a stop, get after Peyton Thorne, get after those receivers? Because Alabama has the weapons to actually push that Alabama, defense down the field. Jalen Milroe, you and Ryan Williams have got to figure it out again. You've got to get back on the same page. Get yourself calm. Take a deep breath. Auburn's secondary can be had, but you've got to understand the magnitude. A 4-loss year. I mean, if you listen to Feinbaum today, the pitchforks are already out. If you have a 4-loss and you lose to Auburn after Oklahoma, there's going to be some serious, events going on in Tuscaloosa and throughout the entire state of Alabama and the SEC. It'll definitely will know that, ding dong, the king is dead, not the witch in this case. But it will be a big news. You've got to just sort of get yourself off the map. And it's going to be a fun firework affair. I think Alabama has a way to win. If this was in Jordan Air, Auburn wins running away. This is in Tuscaloosa. Alabama will survive, but it's going to be a lot closer than, it should be because there's a core, soul issue with Alabama football that they're missing Nick Saban and starting show.
Fresh, are you familiar? I know you're not a huge wrestling fan, but were you as a young Fresh, familiar with a pro wrestler by the name of the Ultimate Warrior?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Face paint. We go in and shake the ropes and stuff like that, and do the big press over top of his head. Yeah. So Alabama for years, with under Nick Saban was Hulkamania. He was Hulk Hogan. WrestleMania, Hogan must pose. Hogan drops the big leg on whether it be Andre the Giant or whether it be Sergeant Slaughter or Yokozuna. And there's Nick Saban and he's, ripping the shirt off and he's flexing and doing all that stuff. That's who Alabama was. And occasionally, people will talk about it at the time. Hulk Hogan didn't have the belt all the time. They always found roundabout ways to get the belt off of Hogan. But sure enough, what always came back to play is the belt always wound up going back to Hulk Hogan. WrestleMania 6, Hulk Hogan versus the Ultimate Warrior. That's who Alabama has turned into. Alabama has shifted, and on looks alone, when you're looking at it and you look at the two of them together, you're like, wow, okay, they look so much the same. They look similar. There's talent, and there's certain games this year that Alabama has just looked like the Alabama of old. Like that Missouri game. They beat
dominant.
them dominant. Then you take a look at what they went into Death Valley and did. And then this past week, though, losing 24-3 to a middle of the road Oklahoma team, it starts to highlight the difference between the two. You know, Hulk Hogan would sit there and tell you to say your prayers, eat your vitamins, and what you're going to do when Hulkamania runs wild over you. Makes sense. The Ultimate Warrior would babble about being an alien from Mars that was sent down here to send you to the abyss. I don't know. It never made any sense when he talked. And this doesn't really make a whole lot of sense to me, because I take a look at Jalen Milroe. Jalen Milroe, uber talented quarterback, but the fact is that he has 17 rushing touchdowns on the year. We've talked about this year in, year out on this podcast, saying how quarterbacks who become the primary focus of a run game, that team is always going to have like a flaw. Like they need to, a quarterback can be part of the run game, but when he becomes the primary focus of the run game, usually your season doesn't end how you want it to end. Luckily for the Ultimate Warrior version of the Alabama Crimson Tide, you're facing the honky-tonk man in this game and not facing, the Macho Man Randy Savage or Hulk Hogan in a rematch or something like that. This is an Auburn team that does have some talent, but they're not going to be able to match with you. Alabama's got to get right. And we've talked about this, about being who you are over a variety of teams. We talked about with Iowa, we talked about a little bit with Wisconsin. Alabama either needs to completely shift the mold, or they need to kind of go back to the Alabama. And this even started happening under Saban. They went away from having the great running back, the Mark Ingrams, the Trent Richardsons, all of those guys that wound up winning Heismans, Derrick Henry. You wind up going away to more of a spread passing offense, and that's fine. If that's who your identity is going to be, great. You had a Heisman Trophy winner for a wide receiver. But this Alabama team needs to make a decision. I feel like they're just straddling the line. Like, are we in or are we out? And again, sooner or later, the Ultimate Warrior leaves the WWF back in the day, shows back up a bunch of years later and got off of, all the performance-enhancing drugs. And people always said that the original Ultimate Warrior died, and it was another guy. It's actually still Jim Hellwig. But that could happen to Alabama. Like, eventually, you're just going to get off of the allure that is you, and all of a sudden, if you don't do this, you're no longer Alabama. It happens. See Texas. See Florida. See the Wolverines. See USC. All four of those, Nebraska, a little longer ago, but all four of those blue blood level programs, elite level programs, and then kind of lost their sense of self. Alabama will win this game. I still think they'll win big, because I think Auburn gave everything, and I think this is a letdown game for Auburn. But again, the Tide have a lot of soul searching to do to figure this whole thing out.
Yeah, I mean, for anyone out there thinking that the Tide are going to the playoff, you definitely are. You're on something. You're on some moonshine. They're not a playoff team, and I think right now you don't want. do they have the talent? I think they need that humbling moment of, all right, you are what you are. So if the committee puts them in the playoff, that means we've seen a lot of unfortunate scenarios play out in the next 2 weeks. And even then, it'd be very tough. I think Ole Miss is better than them, top to bottom. But this might be if they take it the right way, it might be the best thing for Alabama to sort of reset everyone's, who they are and what they need to do to grow. You're so successful for so long. Eventually you are a victim of your success. Now here we are. We're talking about you're 8-3 going into your last game of the year. And the sky is falling in Tuscaloosa. Right. Other programs like Illinois, they're 8-3. This is an amazing scenario. 9-2 in Arizona State. The perspective, the standard that you've set with all the national championships, you might need this rough season to sort of reset and get people to truly commit again to each other, to the program, to the discipline, and listen to what's being coached and not say, hey, I was recruited by Nick Saban. I know how to play football. He knows how good I am. You're Kalen DeBoer. I'm going to do this my own way. Get out of my face. And I'm not saying that's happening, but I'm sort of the mentality of, I was brought here by somebody else. I'm better than what you think I am. I'm going to do it my way. Now it's hey, last year, for all intents and purposes, we sucked it up and we didn't meet the standard. We had one big great win in September. We've got to figure this out. You guys got to get back in and recommit to the program.
Right. All right, Fresh. Let's go to the game that everyone is excited that is back, baby. This game has been on hiatus for a few years. And this may be one of the best, almost underrated rivalry games in all of college football. The Texas Longhorns, they are going to Kyle Field in College Station, Texas, to face the Texas A&M Aggies. At time of record, Texas is a 6-point road favorite. Over under 48.5 in this game. Fresh, before we get rolling into this one, explain to the people, why is this game, if I'm not an A&M fan or I'm not a Texas fan, why is this game such a big rivalry between these two? Why these two teams hate each other so much?
Well, I mean, Texas is the brand. And I think A&M is the little brother, and Texas or Oklahoma has always gotten the attention. And that right there, it stings A&M. And it's not just football, it's across the board. This is the two schools, the two programs, even though College Station and Austin aren't that far away from each other, but they seem worlds apart when it comes to athletic success and money superiority. There's money in both programs. There's no shortage of cash. We saw it in the Jimbo Fisher buyout.
Right.
I mean, it's such a petty thing that if you even watch the College World Series this past summer, A&M is playing Tennessee for the college baseball national championship. They're in the national title series, and the rumor breaks, I think before game 3, I believe, it's a 1-1 best of 3 series, that the coach of Texas A&M was going to accept the Texas baseball job after the World Series was over, win or lose. The news was literally dropped by Texas boosters the day of the game 3 to really just mess with the players and tell them basically, like, your coach is leaving after this ballgame to go to our biggest rival, in our minds, the in-state rival, to deprive A&M potentially of a national championship and steal their coach the same day. And it worked. Right. That's the core of this hatred and this angst. Like, Auburn, Alabama, it's a smaller state, and there is a pain. Texas, everything's bigger in Texas. It is the hook'em horns. It is the Aggie band, the cheers, yell leaders, the midnight yell, Reveille, Bevo. It's all of it. It's an affair. And somehow it always takes a sidestep to Red River in Texas, Oklahoma.
Right.
A&M kind of just feels left out, and they feel a grudge against them. They feel the second nature compared to Texas in everyone else's eyes. And this is that chance to prove they are equal or superior in everything they possibly do. If this game was in Austin, I would think A&M would get whooped. Like especially coming off the loss in Auburn, I don't think A&M would have a chance. This game being Kyle Field, we've seen Alabama go in there and lose. It can happen. That place is loud. It is intimidating. Marcel Reese is a magician at quarterback. He's a freshman, still has a lot to learn. But him at quarterback compared to Wegman earlier on, it's night and day offensively. He's able to really get on the edge, give the defense something else to think about. He adds an extra layer. His passing game, he doesn't have an explosive arm, but he's able to get the ball where he needs to get it in a timely manner. They have a solid backfield of power running backs who can add in and be a little more aggressive and physical. The offensive line can make things happen. The receivers, they have some size, they have some speed. They can still stay in the mix. They rotate a lot of guys. They have the talent offensively to move the ball in this Texas defense. And that gives them a chance. What's really going to be the key is, can Mike Elko and this defense get off the mat after the abysmal effort they had versus Auburn and focus for Quinn Ewers or Arch Manning, because Quinn Ewers technically went for an MRI in his arm. Who knows? There's no status on him. We haven't seen a medical report coming out. The fact you're going for an MRI midweek is leaves some gray area. But either way, Arch Manning comes out there, Quinn Ewers, whoever, they got a quarterback to play. They got talent receiver. They got talent running back. They have big offensive linemen. This is Texas. I think A&M cares more about this game than Texas does. And being at home is going to be a rowdy environment. I prefer this game being played on Thanksgiving, like it had been in the past, not Saturday, but Saturday night. It layers it out there. This game being for a spot in the SEC title game also adds an extra layer of nastiness and intrigue that I don't think the scriptwriters could have written it out better.
Mm-hmm.
A&M, this is their only chance in. Beat your in your mind, your hated rival, and you go to the SEC title game, and you still might be deprived of a playoff spot. If Texas wins, A&M's eliminated, and Texas goes to Atlanta. So A&M has to be in a win-down mode. You blew your mulligan by losing this past week. You blew your mulligan actually by getting blown up by South Carolina and then losing to Auburn. You have no room for error. A&M can be beat. But with all that chaos, and even losing Notre Dame, you still have a chance to get to Atlanta and play for an SEC championship, which is still interesting. You've got to just rally everyone together, get loud, be intimidating, and muck it up. Look at what the only true depiction of how to beat Texas this year was Georgia when they went to Austin in late October. You need to be physical at the line of scrimmage. You need to hit the quarterback relentlessly and grind the ball out and run the ball down their throat on the other side. Score touchdowns, not field goals, but be physical, be mean, be aggressive. Don't try to be flashy. Don't try to go all 4 and 5 receivers and throw the ball around the yard, because that Texas secondary will pick them off and take them to the house, and you'll eventually get sacked by Simmons, and the whole plethora of defensive linemen that are coming after you. You need to be physical at the line of scrimmage, run the ball down the throat, use Marcel Reed on the edge. The way you beat LSU and that mentality, that intensity, that environment is exactly the same thing you need to do to beat Texas. If you can, you're going to be in a great spot. If you sort of getting all flimsy and trying to get all cute, you're going to get destroyed by Texas. My last thing to Texas. Everyone's been hating on your schedule because you ain't beat anybody, and the only ranked team you played, the only team that you actually have played with a ranking that's actually worth your salt, you got beat by 2 touchdowns. You have to show up in this football game, because people are going to start questioning your resume. Even if you win, if you lose 2 losses, 1 to A&M, 1 to Georgia, they're going to start questioning who you've actually played and what you've done, and if you're actually truly worthy and caliber and capable of being a playoff team. You need to go out there and have no mercy. If you stumble, if you lose, you're thrown in a pot with SMU, Miami, Arizona State, Indiana. Georgia's going to have a head-to-head over you, and you're in a world of hurt, scrambling for a playoff spot. You have to come out here and get it done. If you can't go down to Kyle Field and win, I'm going to say at 100% you are not playoff worthy, because you have shown me nothing. Yeah, you beat a Florida team that played with the third-string quarterback a week after getting the hearts broken and struggling, giving it all versus Georgia. You beat a Vanderbilt. You struggle versus Vanderbilt up in Nashville. You struggle versus Arkansas. Where are the Big Ten wins for you? They're not there. You need to show up. or your playoff lives are at stake. So the intrigue, the SEC title game factor, the rivalry not being played since 2011, the playoff, potential for both schools on the line. That right there, who's going to blink first? Who's going to have the testicular fortitude to man up and get it done on Saturday? It's the last game of the night. It's the last game of the weekend, basically. All eyes are on the product. You've got to get it done and figure it out. Elko's defense, Sark's offense is going to be fun. I think Texas just has enough, more playmakers. They are going to find a way to prevail and win. This will be a very close football game, a 4-quarter battle. But Texas will survive and go meet Georgia and Atlanta the week after for the SEC title. But I'm going to still have questions about Texas. And if A&M wins, chaos will ensue, and it'll be really fun to see the committee have to keep a money-making cow in Texas out of the playoff and have those ratings cost them. Will that be a deciding factor? We'll see eventually.
Quinn Ewers, just latest report here, fresh. Quinn Ewers, mild ankle sprain, will not prevent him from playing on Saturday.
And this is as of Monday night, 11:30 midnight Eastern Standard Time. Okay, just want to set that for everybody.
Yep. So we do have kind of a little bit of a word there as well. But again, you could tweak that during the week of practice and anything can happen. And again, college football drives you nuts because they don't have to release an injury report. It's sometimes
in the SEC you do.
You do? Oh, that's new this year then, I guess.
Yeah. The SEC has to have an injury report.
Yeah. Fresh, I'm one of those people that are questioning Texas's resume. The fact that we've put them 3, and you kind of look at who they played, and you go, and there's nothing you can do about that. I'm the biggest proponent of your schedule is what your schedule is. Like, there's so many things is completely out of your control. I can't punish you as long as you're winning your football games in your schedule. The thing that comes into play is, and we put a poll out this past week, and the number 1 vote getter was quality of wins. Now, that doesn't mean that that's the end all be all, but that was the thing that we said, what is most important to you? And again, what we say is most important to you doesn't mean that other things aren't important to you. You take a look at Texas. They didn't know when they set up that home and home with the Wolverines. They didn't know that the Wolverines were going to be hot garbage in a coming off of a year where they had a scandal. They thought that they were getting the Jim Harbaugh Wolverines, where it would be a very competitive matchup and look good for them. They joined the SEC this past year. That schedule was decided, 2 years ago when they announced that it was in?
I think, 2 years, last summer. So the summer of 23 it was actually announced.
Yeah, and they didn't think that Oklahoma would kind of take a nosedive. Florida had kind of been Florida-ing, but Kentucky, Mark Stoops had Kentucky looking pretty good. So again, you look at the schedule and you go, it is what it is. But at the same time, too, if you lose to A&M, and again, it comes into play. If this is a field goal game, Texas, you're still in the playoff. Like, you're still in, regardless. This is a field goal game. Texas is in. But it goes into that point where's the break point? Where does the break point happen that you have to really sit down and go, who'd you beat? Who'd you beat this year that makes me feel like I need to put you in over someone better? And now the fact that I have to account for the 2 times you did play a ranked team, you lost them. This game is very important for Texas, not only from a rivalry standpoint, but from like a respectability and for the rest of the country to take notice of you and to be like, okay, you are a legit power contender here. Yeah, you see the longhorn on the side of the helmet. You see the burnt orange. Again, there's a lot of respect for Texas. Quinn Ewers is a great quarterback. They have some great wide receivers out there. Sark has proven us wrong and really taken a Texas program that was at the depths of hell and brought it back to to national power. You did all of that. And it's not your fault that your schedule worked out the way it is, but you got to give me something. You have to meet me halfway. If I'm willing to say, like, I'm not going to blame you for this, you got to give me some sort of respectable win here. And that's what I want from the Texas A&M game. Same thing with A&M. I look at what A&M did. Man, where they were a couple of years with Jimbo. And what Mike Elko has done, Mike Elko has impressed me. Mike Elko, he's a damn good football coach. And he has done some remarkable things over there in Aggie land as well. I think he's still a year away from pulling this upset. And again, I think maybe probably 2 years away, because this game next year, the game is going to be held in Austin, Texas, instead of at Kyle Field. I think if Mike Elko, this was year 2 of Mike Elko at A&M and not year 1, this game would be insanely dangerous for the Longhorns. I think that this may be an upset special. Like, again, let's point to the fences, call our shots there. I just think Texas is going to have a little more juice. They realize that they need this game. And when you're a desperate program, and even the thought, like, here's the craziest thing, Fresh. A couple weeks ago, we were confident, irrationally confident, that the SEC was getting 4 teams in. If A&M blows them out and then Georgia wins the SEC title, there's a distinct possibility that the SEC gets only 2 teams in. It would be would be a long shot, don't get me wrong. But it would be Tennessee and Georgia would be the locks in, and then it would be like everything else would be how the chips fall.
Yeah, I mean that's where, like, and we've heard this conversation of, if you play in the title game, you should be guaranteed a spot. Well, you set a bad precedent there, because
right,
if you lose the Big 12 title game, I don't think you're playoff worthy. But the other 3 conferences, I could see in most scenarios all 6 of those getting in. But you can't set that as a precedent, because then if you did have a 4-loss team get in the title game, just because of the way the whole math works out, and they had a couple non-conference losses and 2 conference losses, you're putting a 4-loss team in the playoffs just because they made the conference title game. That's a rough bar to set. But it's something where, how do you protect the integrity of playing for your conference championship? Because in the end, you technically are one of the 2 best teams in the league. So it's an interesting conversation. Now, one scenario I kind of will bring up to you along the losses perspective. Let's say A&M wins by a field goal. They beat Texas.
Okay.
Aggies are fantastic. They're going to Atlanta. They go to the SEC title game. They lose. Now they have 4 losses.
They're out.
If you're an Aggie fan, would you still be satisfied knowing that you beat Texas?
Yes.
Even if Texas makes the playoff and somehow got the last at-large bid with 2 losses, you went to the SEC title game, you lost, but you beat your hated rival. That would bring some sort of, like, it was a win of a year, like 8, a 9-4 season. You play for a conference title, but you don't even make the playoff, and you beat your rival who ends up making the playoffs.
But it's our own damn fault. It's our own fault, because here's the thing. You had an opportunity in week 1. You had Notre Dame in Texas.
Boom. That would have locked you in the playoff right there.
And that one loss right there just kind of put you behind. You stumbled at the starting line and are behind all the other runners. Then on top of it, you pull yourself back up. You go on an impressive win streak. And then you go to Columbia, South Carolina, and the Gamecocks boat raced you. And that game is 44-20, and it's not, that game wasn't even that close. And then on top of that, okay, people are starting to say, all right, you got 2 losses here. And you go to Jordan Hare and lose to a mediocre Auburn team. Again, we can't, while everyone will say, like, it's all about competing for a national title. And again, at a school like Texas A&M, it is the expectations need to be probably very similar to a place like Penn State. Again, picking a team outside of the SEC. Penn State and maybe like a Clemson, where your expectations is not to make the national title game or make the Final Four. Your expectations should be every year to be in the hunt to make the playoff. And that's a great expectation to have. You know, there are so many programs that you think about. You're telling me that fans of Florida right now would not be begging to trade places with you after all the hell they've been through? Again, you're telling me UCLA, USC wouldn't be begging to trade places with you? Virginia Tech wouldn't be begging to trade places with you? All of those marquee programs would love to be in the spot you're in. If you beat Texas, do not hang your head and then lose in the SEC title game. Do not hang your head on what you accomplished this year. Take it, learn from it, and come back even stronger, because what that tells me is that there's a possibility that we maybe, and again, maybe, might be seeing a power shift in the SEC. Now, do I think Georgia and Texas are going anywhere in the near future? No, I don't. I don't think those two teams are going anywhere. But what we're seeing in South Carolina, what we're seeing with A&M, and maybe what's going on in Gainesville, I'm cautiously on that one. And then what's kind of happening at Ole Miss, Alabama, all the other programs that have been kind of in that upper echelon, we might be seeing that power shift switching in the SEC, that these new programs are going to kind of go into that tier 1 and tier 2 in the conference.
I can see that.
So, again, A&M, you have Mike Elko, year 1. Nothing. You had a lot to come back from. Like, people don't realize how bad, again, A&M's got some serious donor money, and good for them. Congratulations on all your success. Throw a couple of shekels this way. But Jimbo Fisher really messed that program up. Mike Elko had his work cut out for him, and he's done a very, very nice job.
Well, we talk about like programs and who people are. A&M is blue collar. They've always been run the football, be physical at the line of scrimmage. Their defense is relentless. They are not going to win 50-45. They are a downhill, old school, meat and potatoes kind of program, and they embrace that. They aren't the flash, the fancy. Jimbo tried to be flash and fancy, and that's where I think it didn't click. You sometimes have, as bad as it sounds, you have to embrace who you are. You might want to change a little bit here and there when you come in and have a new vibe. But if you try to go a complete 180 from what you truly are at the core of a program and a fan base, the fans are going to turn on you. They are used to X, Y, and Z. There's a famous thing with Georgia fans. We all hate it when they don't run the damn ball. And we all yell about it because Georgia runs the football historically and has running backs. And even though you might be putting up points and throwing the ball over the yard, and yes, Eric Zires, and Aaron Murray actually leads the SEC in yards all the time, you still want to see the Dogs run the football. Same thing with A&M. Linebackers that are rugged. Dat Win comes to mind. The dude, the 12th man, the guys out there, nameless, faceless, aggressive players on defense who tackle and fill gaps and do it the right way. That's what A&M is, and that's what A&M needs to be, and that's why Elko's the right fit. And I'll wrap it Saturday night. Stewart and LG Overton need to show up on that defensive line for the Aggies for them to have a chance. If they can be a force and blow up that Texas offensive line and get in the backfield and disrupt, they're going to be in great shape. If those two pass rushing monsters aren't making noise, it's going to be a long night for the Aggies.
Right. We'll see, Fresh. I think this game's got huge implications on it, and what in the world will the world be like on Sunday if some of these upsets come through? But folks, that is our full Rivalry Week preview. If you made it through all 3 episodes, congratulations. Great job out of you. Hey, we appreciate you listening to all of these different games, checking out all of the different previews that we've had going on. So thank you so much. And it's been a wonderful, crazy, regular season. Make sure you're checking out Spinnable Sports, spinnablesports.com, because the Irrational Confidence Podcast is part of spinnablesports.com. Special thanks to our producer, Drew. Without him, none of this is possible. Like, subscribe wherever you get your podcast from. Leave us that 5-star review, because you guys know Fresh and I were those 5-star prospects. Interact with us on social media. Fresh, wild, crazy season it's been. We're at Rivalry Week, but the show does not end. We get through this week, and we got conference title games, and we will be with you all of bowl season. We're not going anywhere, folks. We don't take time off, if any, maybe in the month of May. That might be about the time we might take some time off. But other than that, we rarely ever take any time off here. So make sure you're locked in. Hit that subscribe button. Hit the notification bell. Get notified every single day that you are going to get a new episode from us. Maybe not every single day, but every time we drop a new episode. Fresh, one last question here. And for those people who are this, out of all of Rivalry Week, the whole week, was the one game that you are going to get in on the action for? What game are you going to putting a bet down on?
Oof.
Might not be your game, but pick a game that's not your game, that your favorite team's not playing them.
The Palmetto Bowl. With Clemson being favored, I'm taking South Carolina. I put a nice solid wager on the Gamecocks. I think they're feisty, they're hungry, they know the playoff spots within reach if they can, at least get themselves in the picture. I think they go up to the Clemson Memorial Stadium and the wannabe Death Valley, and they take care of business in a big way.
That would be my pick too. I would definitely take the South Carolina game, but just to be a touch different, maybe I'm gonna get a little funky like a monkey. We're gonna go the Iowa Hawkeyes. I'll probably jump in on the Iowa game there. I like the Hawkeyes -5.
My other bet, I'm hammering Notre Dame versus USC. I think they're going to put a beat down on them too.
Yeah, that's another great one. All right, folks, that's all we got. It's been a fun ride for you. Thanks for hanging out with us all season long. But like I said, the train doesn't stop. The show never ends. We're going to keep on rolling throughout the rest of the season.
It just goes on. With that, everybody, hit us up on social media. Hit us up on the YouTube channel. Hit us up on the website, spinnablesports.com. We'll talk to you guys soon. Enjoy Thanksgiving weekend. Enjoy Rivalry Week. We'll talk to you for the championships. Bye, y'all.